good evening. I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Sharaad, Kuttan.
Welcome to Consider This, the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider the news of the day. We kick off the show tonight with a shout out to our Harimau Melaya squad, currently battling Indonesia in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers in Bukit Jalil. I guess that seems to be one eye. Most people will have one eye on the match, and then the other. While you're watching that, let's catch you up to date with what's happening today in the political scene. We've got political rumour mills turning on news of a meeting between PKR Deputy President Azmin Ali as well as UMNO lawmakers. Sharaad, what did you make of this?
Yeah, it seems like politicians, perhaps they exist on a very different planet from the rest of us, and they continue to do what many Malaysians have come to despise about the political class, which is their constant politicking, right? The intrigues, the maneuvers against each other, and dragging the country into endless discussions that perhaps do not go to the heart of many of the concerns of individual Malaysians, which have to do with the quality of education, the possibility of getting a decent job, whether this government is prepared for some of the global economic, headwinds that are said to be there, including a possible recession in the major economies. All these really important questions not being addressed by even those tasked with the economic affairs of the country.
Definitely, and I think that Azmin's job really is to take care of the economy as promised by the Pakatan Harapan manifesto. However, what's interesting, just monitoring the news of the day that's come out from news that there had been a meeting between Azmin Ali and some UMNO politicians, has been the fact that most people are divided on whether it is in the interest of the public to know what happened in this meeting. So we had Bersatu strategist Rais Hussein, who was on the show last night, talking about how this meeting could further erode public confidence in the Pakatan Harapan coalition. So he's saying, well, the public needs to know what transpired in that meeting. Versus what Azmin is saying. Azmin says, listen, it was just, a regular meeting. Anyone who wants to meet him can meet him, so he doesn't feel the need to justify.
Yeah, but because it was an extraordinary moment, and you had the media camped out outside his residence, looking at the cars, looking at who was coming in, who was leaving. My MP, Maria Chin Abdullah from Petaling Jaya, also in the media today, saying there was nothing amiss about this meeting and it was purely a discussion about economic affairs. But the question is, if it was such a large group of MPs, why were some invited, why were others not invited, why wasn't this done during office hours?
So we've agreed that really, the discussion should be, the focus should be on the economy and I guess managing the issues that the Malaysian economy is facing. However, Sharaad, in the political landscape, do you think we're ripe for some political realignments?
Well, this is a thing that Dr. Mahathir has also recently weighed in on. He says he doesn't think Malaysia is ready for a transformation, or a succession issue again has reared its ugly head, and which is the question of whether Dr. Mahathir is going to step down in favour of Anwar Ibrahim as promised before the general election. Now that is still said to be up in the air, or there's some sort of compact. Nobody seems to really know. But what I think is really important, Melissa, at this point in time, again, is constant reminders to the government of the day to be on message, to focus on what people actually are concerned about. The Tanjung Piai by-election seems, and the absolute rout that Pakatan Harapan suffered, seems to have not made a dent in the comportment of
business as usual,
right?
The
comportment of the Pakatan Harapan government. I mean, they seem to think that it's something that they will, do some analysis about and move on from there. I mean.
All right, well, let's focus on the other big news of the day, the criminal trial against UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is accused of embezzling 31 million ringgit from Yayasan Akal Budi, which he founded. Now, a witness told the court that Zahid Hamidi had ordered him to sign a blank cheque, or several blank cheques, in the name of Yayasan Akal Budi, and this without being informed of the purpose of those checks.
So we have this wonderful situation where, we are very critical about how the Pakatan Harapan government and its this current administration conducts itself. It's, we talked about, business as usual post Tanjung Piai, but there was, decades of Barisan Nasional business as usual, and perhaps this trial, As yet, Zaid is not convicted of the crime he's accused of. But what we will be viewing over the next couple of weeks is exactly the way in which politicians of the previous dispensation, the previous government, deal with government institutions or private institutions for their own profit. And that's the accusation that he has to face. And that was business as usual under Barisan Nasional.
No, my biggest concern, Sharaad, is the fact that the witness also told was also told the court that Yayasan Akal Budi was set up to protect Ahmad Zaid Amidi's interests. Now, my concern is the trust deficit that this brings out. You know, the lack of trust that people will say, oh well, if some foundations were allegedly misusing funds that I donated to help the poor, what then of other foundations? And I've recently read about Yayasan Chalkit, which is under pressure, financial pressure now, to make sure that they have enough funds to keep their programs going to help the underprivileged children of Chalkit. So whether this trust deficit will breed into something more and hurt existing foundations that are doing good work, genuine foundations that are doing good work. All right, coming up on the show, we're going to ask you to reconsider some of your assumptions about two very divisive issues: child marriage and the death penalty. Stay tuned to consider this.